The NBA Finals are currently going on, and that means that by this time next week, we will have a new champion. We will have a new member of the Rings Club in basketball history.
Mm-hmm.
Rings culture, of course, has been pervasive throughout sports media for about a decade at least, maybe even longer than that. And LeBron James, in the latest episode of the Mind the Game podcast with Steve Nash, was taking some listener questions on the show. One of them was, hey, LeBron, you got 4 rings. Why don't you tell us your thoughts on rings culture? Take a listen.
It's funny, yeah, I don't know. I don't know why it's discussed so much in our sport and why it's the A-all, B-all of everything. You sit here and tell me, you know, Allen Iverson and Charles Barkley and Steve Nash, our wasn't unbelievable. Like, oh, they can't be talked about or discussed with these guys just because this guy won 1 ring or won 2 rings or won, like, it's just weird to me. It's like saying Peyton Manning can't be in the same room with Brady or Mahomes because he only has 1 ring. They don't never discuss that in their sport.
Right.
Or telling me that Dan Marino is not the greatest slinger of all time, or he can't be in the room with those guys because he didn't win a championship. They don't discuss those things.
Once again, if he had enough rings to be considered the greatest, it would be okay. This is a typical LeBron. He doesn't feel like he's going to get there, and that's going to be held against him, so now he's going to downplay the ring. If it wasn't about that, LeBron, and if Steve Nash had any kind of...
Stop expecting him to
Okay? No, if he had anything, then I would have said, LeBron, why did you leave Cleveland and go to Miami? Chasing rings.
Cleveland!
You're the one who did it. You're the one who ran away. You're the one who put together a super team so that you could win rings. You were the one who were afraid not to win a championship. As great as you were as a player.
Not 2, not 3.
That's right.
Not 4,
now he's saying,
not
listen
5,
to this.
Not 6.
Is he talking
not
about
7.
being a great
And when I
player?
say that,
He's
I
talking
really
about
believe it.
winning rings because that's what he wanted to win. Such a phony. I'm so tired of hearing this. On one hand, he's talking about, I don't know why we're talking about rings or whatever. He's the one. Kelvin, that wasn't somebody imitating him. He's the one talking up about 7 rings. He's the one who left Cleveland, his hometown, and went to go chase rings in Miami. He's the one who keeps leaving, who came to L.A. to chase rings. Because he looked at Michael Jordan. And if you look at Michael Jordan's career and you think it's just about rings, you're mistaken. Michael Jordan was a great player, led the league in scoring 10 times. I could go over and over the all-time leading scorer in the postseason. It was more than just the 6 rings. This whole notion. And if Steve Nash had anything, he could have said, LeBron, Peyton did win 2 championships. Well, Peyton only got 1.
Yeah,
they don't even know.
He forgot that Denver one.
Exactly. But my point is, this is total garbage on LeBron's point. What on part? The only reason if LeBron had 8 or 10 rings, you think he would be talking about the number of rings people counting? Of course he would not. Such a phony. I'm so tired of hearing guys make an excuse when it doesn't fit their narrative. He has to be able to talk about longevity and all this other stuff to be able to be considered great. It's not that you have to win a ring to be great, okay? You can be a great player. I'll sit here and tell you Charles Barkley was a great player. Steve Nash won 2 MVPs. No one's going to say he wasn't a great player in the NBA. But when you talk about the greatest of all time, I don't know of anybody who's the greatest of anything who didn't win at some point in their life. Dan Marino was a hell of a quarterback. I'm going to sit here and tell you he's the best quarterback ever and he never won? Come on, man, nobody. How many times do I have to bring up Marv Levy? He went to 4 straight Super Bowls as a coach.
Not 3.
4. Not one time have I ever heard anybody say Marv Levy's the greatest coach in NFL history. You know why? Because he didn't win. That's why we keep score. That's why we hand out trophies. It does matter. Stop trying to say that winning doesn't matter. It does matter when you're talking about putting somebody ahead of everybody and saying they're the greatest that ever did something. That's all I'm saying.
I actually agree with that last statement. I think when you're talking about the pantheons, right? I got to start to nitpick LeBron or Kobe. I got to start bringing those things up. But I'm going to reverse it here. So let me reverse and start from the beginning here, from where you just ended it. I do believe there was a genesis. I do believe there was a point when something kind of changed. And I think when you just mentioned LeBron leaving, I think a large part of why he was leaving was this. I think LeBron, we knew the talent was there. He's MVPs. He went to the finals in 2007, but he loses. And I think all he starts to hear, because this modern era is the advent of debate shows daily, every single day. The advent of social media, this is hearing things, these conversations daily. And we all know LeBron gets in the league, he becomes the hot topic. LeBron, the Cowboys, and the Lakers or Yankees, make sure you watch, rinse, repeat, say that every week, every day, the greatest hits. And so I think when he starts to hear, oh, he's not a Kobe. Well, he scores more than Kobe. He's a better passer than Kobe. Well, he's not a Kobe because Kobe won. Well, he can't be Jordan because Jordan won. And I think what starts to happen with him was, shoot, I can be MVPs. I can be in the finals and lose. I can be an all-star. My team can win 55, 60 games, but if I don't win, people are going to never put me on this place. So I have to go to find a win because Cleveland obviously didn't put anything around him at that time. So I think he jumped ship, and I think that same thing happened to Kevin Durant. Well, dang, I'm balling out. I'm an all-star, second best player in the league for all these years. I've been to the finals, back in 2011, but 2012. But no one's going to say anything about this unless I win. I think we started to have where these guys were so worried about if I don't win, and I started to freak out because I do believe the ring culture started to be a conversation. When we were back in the day, there's somebody who said Wilt Chamberlain was the best player in the league ever. You know what the best player ever was? Wilt Chamberlain. He had a ring. Bill Russell had 11, but they felt Wilt Chamberlain was more dominant, he's the best player in the league. Somebody said Larry Bird. Hold on, I'll let you talk for quite a bit. Larry Bird was the best player in the ever to them, a lot of people. Well, he had 1, then he had 2, then he had 3. And for them, that was what they saw. I remember Reggie Miller being that guy. He could have been your favorite player, and people would have been like, oh, that's your favorite player? Okay, cool. No, man, Michael Jordan be giving it to him. But the end conversation was never always rings. I do think we've gotten obsessed with rings over the last 15 years. We've gotten lazy with our contextualizing things. We've gotten lazy with our analysis where you go, Shaq can't even get something for Chuck. Let me tell you something. I got 4 rings. You don't have any. And it becomes lazy. Everything. Well, he's got 5 rings. Well, he's got 6 rings. Well, he's got 3 rings. He hadn't won a ring. That's the laziest thing. So I do believe, I agree, that is a massive part of the equation. And if you start nitpicking, if I'm talking about Steph, I'm talking about Kareem, I'm talking about Hakeem, you got to start having those conversations, right? The little bit, okay, he's better here. He has more rings. That's a part of the equation. But I do believe there are some people that close their eyes blindly and go, well, he's got more rings. Well, he's got more rings. Because that's all they've heard from debate shows. That's all they've heard on social media for the last 15, 20 years. Yawn is so boring, and there's no ability to contextualize or have a conversation, with nuanced conversation. I absolutely strongly believe that people have done that. And my last point, and I think this is a compliment to somebody in particular. I think this is a compliment to Kobe Bryant. You say how? I'll tell you how. Kobe Bryant was the first real person that we saw that you could legitimately have a conversation. Is he on par with Jordan? Harold Miner, baby Jordan. Get out of here. Grant Hill, he's the next Jordan. Heck of a player, not that. Allen Iverson, no, he's heck of a player, not that. Kobe Bryant was the first person you started to go, look like him, talk like him, sound like him, chew gum like him, same size, shoot like him, fade away like him. Oh, shoot. He just won 3 straight rings just like him. And it was the first time we started to have a conversation of, could he be the next Jordan? Could he be as good? Could he be better? He's even younger because he came straight out of high school. And immediately we start saying, no, he can't because Jordan has 6. Okay, well, let Kobe keep going. Then he gets 4. Then he gets 5. Well, he's already lost a couple times, so he can never be Jordan. And it started that conversation. Then LeBron comes. Is he better than Kobe? No, because Kobe had 5. And that's when it started because Kobe was so good to great that we started to question, dang, is he better than Mike? And we had to hurry up and rationalize why he couldn't be. To me, I agree that it's a part of the conversation for sure. But people have gotten lazy, Rob, and make it the end all be all.
I disagree. I think it fits people's narrative. If LeBron was 10-0 in the finals, there's no way he'd sit here and tell you about rings. The reason that Wilt Chamberlain never really got the credit that he deserves and broke all the records is because he didn't win enough. Not that he didn't win enough to dominate as much as he did. People thought he should have won more, and that's what hurt him. When you're talking about the greatest, this is not a conversation of whether somebody's good. Nobody's going to question whether Charles Barkley was a great player or Steve Nash has 2 MVPs. It's about the greatest of all time.
But that wasn't the conversation,
No,
though.
that is the conversation.
No, because I'm agreeing. What I'm saying is
that's the only time that you take everything into consideration and you nitpick when you want to crown somebody
But I
as
agree
the
with
greatest.
that. But I think what I
but
think
it's
was
not about.
but I think
but it's
the
not
ring
just,
culture.
Nah, it's not just.
But see,
that's
Rob,
the only thing that matters because that's not true.
No, I'm actually with you on that last part. When I am talking about the greatest of the greatest, I have to do that.
How in the world
think
you
the
want to call
culture,
somebody the greatest of all time,
but,
and it
but
doesn't
I
matter
wasn't,
if he
but
won
I don't
or
think
not.
that's the overall context of what was being said here. I think what we're doing is immediately dismissing Chris Paul as one of the best players. He didn't win a ring. He didn't win, and that so not the greatest. I agree with you on the greatest conference because now I have to nitpick. Okay, well, how many this or how many that? Because we're talking the thinnest
you got
of
other
the
great
thinnest of
players.
things.
It's not that Chris Paul isn't a great player, but I'm going to look at. I'm serious. I'm going to discount Isaiah Thomas for Chris Paul when Isaiah Thomas won championships, didn't have another top 50 player. I mean, like there's more to it. It ain't just that Isaiah won 2. Okay? It's a lot more than that. And that's what's lazy is when people talk about play. It ain't just that.
But that's what I'm saying.
But
a lot of people do that now, Rob. That's the culture now.
I disagree.
So
I was on
they'll
those
go
debate
like this.
shows for 20 years.
And they started. That's when it started.
I was no. And that is not all it was. We never sat there and just because what conversation would there really be?
Who's better
if
to
it's
you?
If it's just about ring, what conversation would
Rob,
we have?
You've done these sports
what?
debate shows.
I told you I've been on all of them.
And that's what I'm saying. They do that because it goes on. Will he get more rings? Will he get more rings? Who has more? Does he need to win another ring? Ring. Let me ask you this. Who? And this is a genuine question. This isn't a debating question. I'm not trying to set you up. I'm really asking your opinion.
Disagree.
Who's better? Who would you rather have, Kevin Garnett or Charles Barkley? There's no wrong. I'm literally just asking. So this ain't a setup or nothing.
Charles Barkley.
Who didn't win a ring. Do you know how many people would never say that?
I don't know how.
But you get what I'm saying, Rob G. You feel me? They would say never say that because their immediate default, because they've been trained and wired. They've been trained and wired the last 15 years ago. He don't have any rings. Kevin Garnett, why? Because he got a ring. Dirk or Charles Barkley? Dirk, why? Did you see that run? He had a ring.
Nah.
And you must not have never saw Charles Barkley play in your life.
That's just
and that's where we've gotten. I think that's the conversation.
No, what you're doing is you're letting LeBron off the hook, which is if this ring thing was in his favor, I swear to you, he would not be on that talking about the ring that rings don't matter. This is because he's lost so many, and in a lot of people's mind, he lost too many. He's lost more than he's won.
Oh, without a doubt.
And if that wasn't the case, and if LeBron was also 6-0 and the all-time leading scorer and whatnot, he would not be trying to discount the rings. He only discounts it because it doesn't work for his narrative.
And why
would you want that to count when you've lost 6 times?
That's where we'll disagree. I think what he's saying is that becoming the end-all, be-all. Not that it doesn't matter. He's been trying to win them to the tune of, 10, 11 finals runs.
That's why he's got a suitcase next to his basketball.
I think it has been
that
we have become blinded and can't contextualize or have a good conversation. He got a ring.